What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So I wanted to discuss this today. As we all knew, the live event rewards are now being put in Maria's shop after the fact. So now looking back at what the live events have become. At first, they were 11-day events that you played and they disappeared. You could, of course, go back and play the missions like always and everything in the game, but the event itself ceased to exist. If you missed the rewards, you never got them. Now, basically, with the world parameters, if you missed the event, you could go back and play it, or you could experience the world in which it was during the event. I think that's a great idea. Why would a development studio sit there and develop content for a game that disappeared in 11 days, especially a live service game? It's like the world never really evolved because the event came and went. I always thought that was really, really bad. It was a bad decision to make it that way, whether it was upper management, the developers themselves. It was a terrible idea, and it still is to this day, how the events come and go and the world doesn't seem to change outside of you playing the event. Two, these rewards that you could only get during the event, now you can get in Maria's shop, which I do think is a great idea. Or I'd never thought it was a great idea to have a timed event to have these rewards to begin with. People shouldn't be forced to play during a certain time. If someone's taking a vacation, if they're busy at work, they shouldn't think to themselves, "Damn, I really want to play. I'm not going to be able to get this," etc. Now, I never agreed with people complaining about raid rewards, and I'll tell you why. As a former WoW player, if I wanted to get, for those of you that played World of Warcraft, if you wanted to get tier 1 raid gear, right, you had to do the raid. You ran up in Molten Core, and you beat all the bosses, and you week after week, and you finally got that gear. The PvP gear, right? You had to play Arathi Basin, Warsong Gulch, Alterac Valley. You had to play these things to get these certain pieces. I don't disagree with that concept. If they want to have PvP specific rewards, cosmetic gears, things like that, people shouldn't complain about them. Go play PvP. If you don't want to, then you don't get it. If you don't want to raid, then you don't get the raid gear. I'm perfectly fine with that. I never complained about that. I went and played the raids. I thought they were bleh, the robots and all that. Everybody knows my opinion on that. But I still went and did it because I wanted the gear. And you know what? I grinded a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks trying to beat the raid, finding people who had mics before I could get a crew together and beat the raid. So it's not like everybody who beats the raids has friends. You meet people and you friend them, and then you go and you beat the raid if you're one of those people who aren't playing the game with anyone like I was. But I digress. My point being is that I think is fine for a game. If developers want to create end game content for you to play for specific items and rewards, they can do that. But when you develop a game and you develop these mechanics, these systems and components that you input into the game and then take out of the game after a week or two, I always thought that was really bad, a really bad development process. Because why would a management team have their team create all this content just to be in a game for 11 days? Why would you have a live service game that the world evolves but doesn't? So now we have all these events. You get the items in Maria's shop. The events come and go. And there's no really time. There's no process on the island that takes place that shows the evolution of this story. So the Rebel event and Operation Amber Sky, let's use these two as an example, because the Terminator event, I think, works perfect for a world parameter. That is something that you should be able to toggle on and off, and it kind of comes and goes because you don't want Terminators roaming on the island. That's just silly. But as far as the way they programmed in, I guess it's within their engine, how things are always spawning around Nomad. And what I mean by that is whether it's enemies, Azrael drones, helicopters, or the Rebel event. Everywhere Nomad goes, things spawn around him. It's not really a dynamic system to where it's programmed for these things to happen in these areas and maybe the player triggers these events to happen. It's more along the lines of, okay, the player's here, we're going to spawn this around the player. The player's here, we're going to spawn this around the player. And that's why if you were in the middle of Mount Hodgson, or whatever it's called, and you were on top of a mountain and nothing was around you, you'd look down and you'd see rebels and Sentinel fighting in the middle of a mountain where there's nothing there. It made no sense. This type of programming, I feel is bad for the game, but it's also bad for the story of the game because now with these live events, there's no, like I said, there's no moving forward and no evolution of what's going on this island. The Rebel event comes and goes, you click it on and off, you play it. Operation Amber Sky comes and goes, you click it on and off and you can play it. But they don't intertwine, interweave. There's no correlation between the two stories now and the two live events which happen on this island. I was always of the opinion that it would be way better to have these rebels always maybe be in a few southern provinces, like maybe the rebels were invading the island and trying to take it back a little at a time. So every time in game, no matter what, if you go to the southern part of the islands at a certain point in the story, maybe once you beat it and then once you get to a point where you play this live event, it should have been timed in the story for new players and things like that. I feel like Ubisoft Paris is just striking out time and time again when you really sit down and you think about how they're developing for this game. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, whether it's the storytelling or how these mechanics work with each other. There's no rhyme or reason to anything that we're doing in this game. Now, there's no rhyme or reason to doing it now from a perspective of loot and experiencing it because you can get the loot in Maria's shop or you could turn on the event at any point in time. So there's no real reason for these live events anymore other than to have new content in the game. But from a story standpoint, is there any point of really trying to figure out these stories if Amber Sky happens, but the Rebel event isn't going on, or the Rebel event happens? So what happens when Amber Sky happens with the Rebels? Like the Rebels are obviously pushing through this island trying to take over Sentinel, but now Sentinel's gassing the homesteaders, and where are the Rebels now? Nothing makes sense. And I really hope Ubisoft Paris moving forward, they understand that you can't develop games like this. It's the game is going every single direction and your players are just stuck there wondering like, what the hell is going on here? I don't understand any of this. Nothing makes sense from a mechanical standpoint, and therefore it doesn't make sense from a story standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint. Just there's no interweaving of anything that they're creating. It's basically like one and done hit. There it is, experience it. Now it's gone. If you want to play it again, flip a toggle, which was a good thing that they actually added that. This way, if people did miss the events, they could still experience the world and how those events work. But it just doesn't make sense at this point. And I don't know if it's an engine issue or development issue. I always say this in my videos or when I'm talking to people, but I really hope they could figure this out moving forward. Not even in Breakpoint, in the next game. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Breakpoint's going to change as a game as a whole, but if this is the way it's developed because of how Anvil Next works, I really hope they consider either building upon this engine or changing to a new one, because you can't move forward, in my opinion, with this type of development structure and process for Ghost Recon. You're just going to absolutely destroy this franchise if you do this in the next game. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to discuss that and uh, how we're affected now by live events and what live events mean for the game, and whether it's the rewards or experiencing the event at the time within the context of the story. It just everything seems to be really, really messy at this point. But it's not anything we don't know. But I just wanted to sit down and talk. I haven't sat down and talked like this in a while about Ghost Recon, and this was on my mind now, knowing that the items are now in Maria's shop, and it really just doesn't matter anymore, these live events. And I wonder what they're going to do moving forward. But like I said, I am glad that everybody gets to get the rewards if they miss the event. I don't think rewards should be on a timed event like this. You want to have exclusive rewards, make raids, and for those of you, when I say raids, you can check out this video up here. I'm going to link it for you. I have a video about what a raid should be in Ghost Recon. If you've never seen it, it's a very old video when I really first started talking about Ghost Recon way back in the day, before raids even came out. And to give you an idea of what a raid should be in a tactical shooter, check that out. But yeah, that's all for this video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me end it here. Everybody have a great day. Let me know what you think below about this whole fiasco with Ghost Recon Breakpoint and now what we're experiencing with the live events. And yeah, we'll discuss some things. So that's all. Everybody have a great day, and I will see you guys all in the next video. All right, guys. Peace.